Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the U.S. Liberty, watching the massive space station grow larger through the viewscreen. Nexus Prime was unlike anything humanity had ever built. The station stretched for hundreds of miles in every direction, its silver surface covered with lights that pulsed in patterns he could not understand. This was the heart of galactic civilization, home to the council that ruled over 12 different alien species. Jake had been preparing for this moment for 3 years. Ever since humanity had discovered faster-than-light travel and made contact with the galaxy beyond Earth, they had worked toward this day. Today, Earth would ask to join the galactic community. Today, humanity would take its place among the stars. Behind him, Ambassador Lisa Campbell checked her notes one final time. She was a small woman with graying hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. For 20 years, she had solved problems between nations on Earth. Now she faced her greatest challenge yet, convincing alien beings that humanity deserved a seat at their table. "Captain, we are receiving docking instructions," reported Lieutenant Amy Parker from her position at the communications console. Amy was young, barely 25, but she had learned 6 alien languages in preparation for this mission. Her enthusiasm for first contact had impressed everyone back on Earth. "Follow their instructions exactly," Jake ordered. "We cannot afford any mistakes today." Commander Ryan Brooks stepped up beside the captain. Ryan was a veteran of Earth's Space Defense Force, a big man with scarred hands and a calm voice. He had volunteered to lead Ambassador Campbell's security team, though everyone hoped there would be no need for his skills today. "The alien ships are keeping their distance," Ryan observed, watching the tactical display. "But they are watching us closely," Jake nodded. They had expected this. The Council had agreed to meet with humanity, but they had made no promises about friendship. The messages from Nexus Prime had been formal and cold, nothing like the warm welcome humanity had hoped for. The Liberty moved slowly through the station's docking bay. Jake could see hundreds of alien ships of every shape and size. Some looked like great metal fish, others resembled crystalline flowers, and still others defied any comparison to Earth creatures. Each ship represented a different species, a different world, a different way of thinking about the universe. "Docking complete," reported the navigation officer. "All systems secure." Ambassador Campbell stood and smoothed her formal diplomatic dress. The outfit had been designed specifically for this meeting, combining Earth's finest materials with symbols of peace and friendship. She looked every inch the representative of humanity's hopes and dreams. "Remember," she said to her team, "we are not just representing Earth today. We are representing the future of human civilization. Every word we speak, every gesture we make, will be remembered for generations." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Beyond it waited a corridor that gleamed with an inner light, its walls covered in patterns that seemed to move when viewed from the corner of the eye. The air smelled of ozone and something else, something alien and strange. Their escort was waiting. The being stood 7 feet tall on 4 legs, its body covered in blue-green scales that shifted color in the light. 2 large eyes regarded the humans with what might have been curiosity or contempt. Jake could not tell which. "I am Guide Zektul," the alien said in perfect English, though its voice carried harmonics that human ears were not designed to hear. "I will escort you to the council chamber. You will follow exactly and speak only when spoken to. Any deviation from protocol will result in immediate termination of these proceedings." Lisa Campbell nodded gracefully. "We understand and will comply with all protocols. We are honored to be here." The alien made a sound that might have been acknowledgement or dismissal. It turned and began walking down the corridor at a pace that forced the humans to hurry to keep up. Jake noticed that Ryan's hand rested casually near his sidearm, though he hoped it would not be needed. They passed through sections of the station that defied human understanding. In one area, the gravity seemed to pull in different directions. allowing beings to walk on walls and ceilings as easily as floors. In another, the air shimmered with energy that made Jake's skin tingle. Everywhere they looked, they saw aliens of species they had never imagined. Some were tall and thin as reeds, with too many joints in their arms and legs. Others were short and round, rolling along on wheels instead of walking. One group appeared to be made of living metal, their bodies reflecting the light in rainbow patterns. A few seemed to be nothing but clouds of gas held together by force fields, pulsing with internal light as they communicated. All of them stopped to stare at the humans. Jake could feel their attention like weight on his shoulders. Some seemed curious, others hostile, and still others simply confused by the sight of these new beings from a distant world. "The Council has been waiting for this moment," Guy Exec Tool said without turning around. "Your species has been observed since you first left your world. Many debate whether you are ready for contact with galactic civilization. We hope to prove ourselves worthy," Ambassador Campbell replied diplomatically. The alien made that sound again. "Worthiness is not something that can be proven with words." They entered a vast chamber that took Jake's breath away. The ceiling stretched up beyond sight, and the walls curved away in all directions. At the center sat a ring of 12 massive chairs, each one designed for a different type of being. This was where the fate of civilizations was decided. The council members were already in their seats. Jake recognized some of them from the intelligence briefings. The reptilian being in the largest chair was Caxvel, prime regent of the Vorthok, and current leader of the council. His yellow eyes fixed on the humans with undisguised contempt. To his right sat a creature that looked like a giant insect, its compound eyes reflecting the chamber's lights in thousands of tiny rainbows. This was the Zephyrian representative, whose species was known for their mathematical genius and rigid social structure. The other council members were equally impressive and equally alien. A being made of living crystal hummed with inner music. A creature that seemed to be part plant and part animal swayed gently in its chair. Something that might have been a cloud of intelligent gas flickered with internal lightning. "So," Caxvel said, his voice echoing through the chamber, "the humans have finally come to us. We have watched your species for some time now. We have seen your wars, your violence, your primitive impulses. Now you come seeking to join civilized society." Ambassador Campbell stepped forward with dignity. "Honored council members, humanity comes before you in peace. We seek only to learn from your wisdom and contribute what we can to galactic civilization. We offer our knowledge, our friendship, and our commitment to the principles of peace and cooperation." Several council members made sounds that might have been laughter. The insect being clicked its mandibles in what Jake recognized as their species' expression of amusement. "Peace," repeated Caxvel. "This from a species that has never known a generation without war. Cooperation from beings who cannot even cooperate among themselves. What exactly do you think you have to offer us, humans?" Lisa Campbell had prepared for this question. She activated a holographic display that showed Earth's greatest achievements. Cities that reached into the clouds, art that moved the soul, music that spoke to the heart of what it meant to be alive. She spoke of human exploration, human creativity, human determination to always reach for something better. The council watched in silence. When she finished, the chamber remained quiet for a long moment. Then Caxvel leaned forward in his chair. "Impressive," he said, "for a primitive species. But we have seen such things before, from races that thought themselves ready for the galaxy. Most of them no longer exist." The words sent a chill down Jake's spine. There was something in the alien's tone, something that suggested this meeting would not end as humanity had hoped. "The council will consider your petition," Caxvel announced. "You will wait while we deliberate." The humans were escorted to a small chamber to wait. None of them spoke, but Jake could see the worry in their eyes. This was not going as planned. The waiting chamber was small and cold. Ambassador Lisa Campbell sat on a hard metal bench, her hands folded in her lap. Captain Jake Morrison paced near the single window that looked out into space. Commander Ryan Brooks stood by the door, alert and ready, while Lieutenant Amy Parker worked quietly at a portable communication device. "How long have we been waiting?" Jake asked, checking his watch for the 10th time in an hour. 3 hours and 27 minutes, Amy replied without looking up from her equipment. She had been trying to establish contact with the Liberty, but something was blocking their signals. "This is normal for diplomatic proceedings," Lisa said, though her voice carried doubt. "These decisions take time." Ryan moved away from the door. "Something is wrong. I can feel it." Before anyone could respond, the door opened. Guide Zek Tool entered, followed by 6 armed guards. The guards were different species, but all carried weapons that hummed with energy. Their faces showed no emotion as they surrounded the humans. "Ambassador Campbell," Zek Tool said, "you will come with us. The council has reached its decision." Lisa stood, smoothing her dress. "Of course. My team will accompany me." "No," the alien replied firmly. "Only you." Ryan stepped forward. "That is not acceptable. The ambassador's security detail must remain with her at all times." The guards raised their weapons slightly. The message was clear. "It is all right, Commander," Lisa said calmly. "I will be fine." "Ma'am, I cannot allow." "That is an order, Commander." Her voice was steady, but Jake could see fear in her eyes. "Stay here with the others." She walked toward the door, her back straight and her head high. At the threshold, she turned back to look at her team one last time. "Whatever happens," she said quietly, "remember that we came here in peace. Do not let them say otherwise." The door closed behind her with a sound like a tomb sealing shut. Ryan immediately moved to the door and tried to open it. The panel would not respond to his touch. "Locked," he growled. "We are trapped." Jake activated his emergency communicator. "Liberty, this is Morrison. Respond immediately." Only static answered him. Amy looked up from her equipment. "All communications are being jammed. We are completely cut off from our ship." For the next 2 hours, they waited in growing dread. Ryan tested every surface of the chamber, looking for a way out. Jake tried every frequency on his communicator. Amy worked to break through the jamming signals. Nothing worked. Then the chamber's wall became transparent, revealing the council chamber beyond. Lisa Campbell stood in the center of the great room, surrounded by alien guards. Her hands were bound behind her back with energy restraints that glowed blue-white. Prime Regent Cax Vell rose from his chair. His voice carried clearly through hidden speakers. "Human Lisa Campbell, you stand accused of crimes against galactic civilization. The charges are terrorism, espionage, and violation of the sacred accords." Lisa's voice was steady as she replied, "These charges are false. I came here as a peaceful ambassador representing my species. Evidence has been presented to this council." Cax Vell continued, ignoring her words. "Weapons were found in your quarters. Communications intercepts show you plan to gather intelligence on our defenses. Witnesses have testified to your species' violent intentions." "What evidence?" Lisa demanded. "What witnesses?" "You have fabricated these charges." The insect being clicked its mandibles. "The human lies even now. This proves the violent nature of their species." Jake pressed his hands against the transparent wall. "They are framing her," he whispered in horror. On the screen, a holographic display showed images that Jake had never seen before. There were weapons that looked human in design, communications that appeared to be in Earth languages, and video recordings of Lisa supposedly meeting with unknown figures. All of it was fake, but it looked convincing. "The penalty for these crimes is death," Cax Vell announced. "However, the council is merciful. We offer you a choice, human. Confess your guilt and provide us with information about your species, military capabilities, and your death will be quick." Lisa raised her chin defiantly. "I will not confess to crimes I did not commit. I will not betray my species with lies." The crystal being hummed a note that sounded like sadness. "Then you have chosen the hard path." "Wait," Lisa called out as the guards moved toward her. "I demand to speak with my ship. I demand that my government be notified. I am a diplomatic representative." "There are laws. Human laws do not apply here," Caxvel said coldly. "You are beyond the reach of your primitive civilization now." The guards forced Lisa to kneel in the center of the chamber. A device was brought forward, a strange machine that hummed with deadly energy. Jake recognized it from the intelligence briefings. A molecular disintegrator, a weapon that would tear apart her very atoms. "No," Ryan breathed, his face pressed against the wall. "They cannot do this. This execution will be broadcast throughout the galaxy," Caxvel announced. "Let all species see what happens to those who challenge the authority of the Council." Lisa looked directly at the hidden camera that was recording her final moments. Her voice carried across the chamber with remarkable strength. "I am Lisa Campbell, Ambassador of Earth. I came here in peace, seeking friendship between our peoples. I die innocent of all charges. Let my death be remembered not as justice, but as murder." She paused, taking a breath that might be her last. "2. My people on Earth, do not let them tell you we were wrong to reach for the stars. Do not let them say we deserved this fate. We came in peace, and they killed us for it. Remember that. Remember me." Caxvel made a gesture with his clawed hand. The machine activated. Lisa Campbell simply vanished. One moment she was there, kneeling, with dignity in the face of death. The next, there was only empty space where she had been. Not even dust remained. The chamber fell silent except for the humming of alien machinery. Jake fell to his knees, his hands pressed against the wall. Amy began to cry silently. Ryan's face was stone, but his eyes burned with a fury that would have frightened anyone who saw it. "Bring the others," Caxvel ordered. The door to their prison opened again. The guards gestured for them to come forward. Moving like sleepwalkers, the 3 surviving humans were escorted into the council chamber. They stood where Lisa had died, still feeling the residual energy from the terrible weapon. "You have witnessed galactic justice," Caxvel said. "Your ambassador was a criminal and a terrorist. She received the fate all such beings deserve." "She was innocent," Jake said, his voice hoarse. "You murdered an innocent woman." Silence. The alien's roar echoed through the chamber. "You will speak only when given permission." He gestured to one of the guards who produced a small device. "This contains our message to your species. You will return to your primitive world and deliver it exactly as recorded. Any deviation will result in the complete destruction of your planet." The guard placed the device in Jake's hands. It was warm to the touch and pulsed with an internal light. "What does it say?" Jake asked. "Your species has one standard galactic year to surrender all faster-than-light technology and submit to council oversight. Your governments will be dissolved. Your military forces will be disbanded. Your people will serve as workers in the galactic economy." Caxvel leaned forward, his yellow eyes gleaming. "If you refuse, we will sterilize your world and add it to the list of species that challenged us and lost. There will be no negotiation, no second chances, no mercy." He gestured dismissively. "Take them back to their ship. Let them carry word of what they have seen here today." As they were escorted through the corridors of Nexus Prime, Jake clutched the message device and thought of Lisa's final words. She had died with courage, representing the best of humanity. Now it was his job to make sure her sacrifice was not forgotten. The galaxy had made its choice. Soon, humanity would make theirs. The UES Liberty traveled through space in complete silence. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, staring at the stars ahead. The small metal container on his lap held all that remained of Ambassador Lisa Campbell, a handful of dust that the aliens had mockingly given him as a token of their mercy. Commander Ryan Brooks stood at the tactical station, his hands gripping the console so tightly his knuckles were white. Lieutenant Amy Parker worked at communications, sending the same message to Earth over and over again. All three men knew their lives had changed forever on Nexus Prime. "How long until we reach Earth?" Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper. 18 hours, Captain," Amy replied without looking up from her console. 18 hours to figure out how to tell humanity that their first attempt at joining galactic civilization had ended in murder. The journey home felt longer than the trip out. When they had left Earth, they carried the hopes and dreams of billions of people. Now they carried only terrible news, and a message that would change everything. Earth appeared on the view screen, blue and beautiful and innocent. Jake had never been so happy to see home, and never so afraid of what he had to do next. Earth Control. "This is the U.S. Liberty requesting immediate priority docking," Amy transmitted. "Liberty, this is Earth Control. Welcome home. How did the mission go?" There was a long pause before Amy replied. "Request immediate conference with Earth government leadership. Priority Alpha." The docking bay was crowded with reporters and government officials. Jake could see President Helen Martinez waiting with her staff, smiling and waving at the cameras. She expected to hear good news about humanity's bright future among the stars. Jake walked down the ramp carrying Lisa's remains. The crowd fell silent as they saw his face. The smile faded from President Martinez's lips. "Captain Morrison," she said quietly, "where is Ambassador Campbell?" Jake held up the small container. "This is all that remains of her, Madam President. The aliens executed her 3 days ago." The words hit the crowd like a physical blow. Someone screamed. A reporter dropped his camera. President Martinez went pale and had to steady herself against her aide. "My office," she said. "Now." An hour later, Jake sat in the Oval Office facing the most powerful people on Earth. President Martinez sat behind her desk, her face carved from stone. Defense Secretary General Frank Robinson leaned forward in his chair, his jaw clenched tight. Intelligence Director Carol Stone took notes as Jake told his story. The room was silent as Jake described the false charges, the fake evidence, and Lisa's dignified final moments. When he finished, he placed the alien message device on the president's desk. "They gave us 1 year to surrender," he said. "Complete submission or they will destroy Earth." General Robinson was the first to speak. "How many ships do they have?" "Thousands," Jake replied. "Maybe tens of thousands. Every species contributes to their fleet. And their technology? Advanced, but not beyond our understanding. Different, but not superior in every way." Carol Stone looked up from her notes. "What do you mean?" Jake thought carefully before answering. "Their ships are old, General. Ancient designs that have not changed in centuries. They rely on tradition and overwhelming numbers. They fight according to rules and honor codes." "Meaning?" "Meaning they have never faced an enemy like us." President Martinez activated the alien message device. Prime Regent Caxvel's image appeared above the desk, his reptilian features twisted with contempt. "Primitive humans," the recording began. "Your ambassador was executed as a terrorist and criminal. This is the fate of all who oppose the will of the Galactic Council." The message continued for 10 minutes, listing humanity's crimes and demanding complete surrender. When it ended, the room remained silent. General Robinson was the first to speak. "Madam President, I recommend we begin immediate military preparations." "For defense?" President Martinez asked. "No, ma'am, for war." Carol Stone leaned forward. "General, they have 12 species and thousands of worlds. We have one planet. They murdered our ambassador, Robinson replied, his voice cold as space. They threaten to destroy our world. They treat us like animals to be caged or slaughtered. This is not about numbers, Director. This is about what we are willing to accept. President Martinez stood and walked to the window that looked out over Washington. Captain Morrison, in your professional opinion, do we have any chance of winning? A war against the Galactic Council? Jake thought of Lisa's final words, her courage in the face of death, and the contempt in the alien's eyes. Madam President, they expect us to surrender. They expect us to beg for mercy. They think we are weak and primitive. Are we? No, ma'am, we are angry. The President turned back to face the room. General Robinson, what would you need to fight? This war? Every ship we can build, every weapon we can make, and every person willing to fight for humanity's freedom. And our chances of victory? Robinson smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. Ma'am, they killed our ambassador. They threatened our children. They think we will submit like frightened animals. They are about to learn that humans fight differently than other species. President Martinez looked at each person in the room. I want options. Full military assessment, industrial capacity, technological advantages. I want to know if we can win this war, and if we cannot. Carol Stone asked. Then we will make them pay such a price for their victory that they will regret ever hearing the name of humanity. The meeting ended with orders flying in every direction. Within hours, every military base on Earth was placed on high alert. Defense contractors received unlimited funding to develop new weapons and ships. Scientists were pulled from universities and research centers to work on military projects. Most importantly, President Martinez called for a special session of the United Earth Government. Representatives from every nation gathered in New York to hear the news and decide humanity's fate. The Great Assembly Hall was packed as President Martinez took the podium. She told them about Lisa Campbell's mission, her execution, and the alien ultimatum. She showed them the recording of their ambassador's murder and the Council's demands for surrender. When she finished, the hall erupted in angry voices. Some called for immediate war. Others demanded negotiation. A few suggested accepting the alien terms to save humanity from destruction. President Martinez raised her hand for silence. We have 1 year to decide, 1 year to prepare, 1 year to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of. She paused, looking out over the faces of humanity's leaders. They killed Lisa Campbell because she represented hope. Hope for friendship between species. Hope for a peaceful future among the stars. They murdered hope itself. Her voice grew stronger, carrying to every corner of the hall. But they made one mistake. They think that by killing our hope, they have broken our spirit. They are wrong. We do not surrender. We do not submit. We do not bow to alien masters who think they can enslave us. The hall was completely silent now. They wanted to send a message to the galaxy by executing our ambassador. Very well. We will send a message of our own. When they look up at the stars, they will remember what happened when they threatened humanity. She slammed her fist on the podium. We choose war. We choose to fight for our freedom, our children, and our future. If they want to destroy us, they will have to earn it. And when this war is over, the galaxy will remember that you do not threaten humanity without consequences. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would fight. Within days, every factory on Earth was converted to war production. Shipyards worked around the clock. Recruitment centers were overwhelmed with volunteers. The largest military force in human history began to take shape. The aliens had given humanity 1 year to surrender. Instead, humanity would use that year to prepare for the largest war the galaxy had ever seen. They had killed the wrong ambassador. 6 months had passed since humanity declared war on the Galactic Council. Earth's skies were filled with new ships launching every day. Admiral Susan Blake stood on the bridge of the U.S. Retribution, watching the final preparations for humanity's first strike. The Retribution was the largest warship ever built by human hands. 3 miles long and bristling with weapons that had never been tested in real combat. Around her, 9,999 other ships waited in formation. The Terran Armada was ready for war. Admiral Blake was a small woman with gray hair and cold blue eyes. She had spent 30 years in Earth's Space Defense Force, fighting pirates and protecting merchant ships. Now she commanded the largest fleet in human history, and she intended to use it well. "Admiral," reported Captain Danny Wright from his position at the tactical station, "all ships are ready. Weapons are charged and crews are at battle stations." Danny was young for a ship captain, only 32 years old. But he had volunteered for the most dangerous assignment in the fleet, leading the first assault on an alien world. His ship, the U.S. Vengeance, would be the first to open fire. "Communications, open a channel to all ships," Admiral Blake ordered. Lieutenant Kevin Murphy activated the fleet communication system. Every captain and crew member in the Armada could now hear her voice. "This is Admiral Blake speaking to all ships of the Terran Armada. 6 months ago, the aliens murdered our ambassador. They threatened our world. They demanded our surrender. Today, we give them our answer." She paused, looking out at the stars that held their enemies. "We are not here to make friends. We are not here to negotiate. We are here to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity. Today, the Vorthik homeworld will burn. Tomorrow, we will find the next target. We will not stop until every council species is extinct." The channel crackled with the voices of 10,000 captains acknowledging her orders. "Jump in 30 seconds." Admiral Blake commanded. "All ships prepare for hyperspace." The stars stretched into lines of light as the Terran Armada entered hyperspace. They traveled for 6 hours at speeds that bent the laws of physics. When they emerged, they found themselves in orbit around Vorth, homeworld of the reptilian species that had led humanity's persecution. The planet was beautiful from space, covered in red deserts and silver cities that gleamed in the light of twin suns. Orbital stations surrounded the world like jewels, and hundreds of Vorthak warships patrolled the system in lazy formations. "Enemy contacts," reported the sensor operator. 317 warships detected. They are moving to intercept. "Admiral." Blake smiled coldly. "Are they following traditional battle formations?" "Yes, ma'am. They are arranging themselves in ceremonial combat lines and broadcasting challenge frequencies." "Perfect. Captain Wright, you may begin the attack." The Vorthak fleet approached in neat rows, their ships decorated with bright colors and trailing banners. They transmitted formal challenges and demands for honorable single combat. It was exactly what human intelligence had predicted: aliens, who fought wars like parades. Danny Wright's voice came over the communication system. "All ships, this is Vengeance. Weapons free, fire at will." The Terran Armada opened fire as one. 10,000 warships unleashed their weapons simultaneously, filling space with energy beams, missiles, and projectiles moving at incredible speeds. The carefully arranged Vorthak formation simply vanished in explosions of light and debris. "Enemy fleet destroyed," reported the tactical officer in a voice filled with awe. Total engagement time, 17 minutes and 34 seconds. But Admiral Blake was not finished. "All ships prepare for orbital bombardment. Target every city, every military base, every population center. I want nothing left alive on that planet." "Ma'am," Danny Wright's voice carried uncertainty, "there are civilians down there, millions of them." "Captain Wright, they murdered our ambassador. They are not civilians, they are enemies. Carry out your orders." The bombardment began immediately. Beams of pure energy lanced down from orbit, turning Vorthik cities into pools of molten glass. Nuclear missiles followed, creating mushroom clouds that could be seen from space. Kinetic projectiles fell like rain, each one hitting the planet. With the force of an earthquake, the beautiful red deserts became seas of fire. The silver cities melted and burned. The orbital stations were torn apart by human warships that showed no mercy and took no prisoners. Within 6 hours, Vorth was a dead world. Phase 2, Admiral Blake announced. Colonel Lisa Hayes, begin ground. Operations. Colonel Hayes commanded the Terran Marine Corps, 500,000 soldiers trained for one purpose, to hunt down and kill every Vorthek who had survived the orbital bombardment. Her ships landed on the burning planet and began their grim work. The few Vorthek who had survived in underground bunkers were dragged into the light and executed on sight. Government officials who tried to surrender were shot where they stood. Military commanders who offered to provide intelligence were killed before they could speak. Lisa Hayes herself led the assault on the Vorthek capital, the great palace where their leaders had once made decisions about war and peace was now a crater filled with radioactive glass, but the underground levels had survived. Her Marines went room by room, corridor by corridor, killing every Vorthek they found. Colonel, one of her sergeants reported, "We have found the planetary leader. He is requesting terms for surrender." "There are no terms," Lisa replied coldly. "Execute him." The sergeant hesitated. "Ma'am, he has information about other council worlds." "Intelligence says, Sergeant, our orders are clear. No prisoners. No negotiations, no mercy. Kill him now." The execution was broadcast across the galaxy. Every species that belonged to the Council watched as the leader of the Vorthek died on his knees, begging for his life in perfect English. "Let this be a message," Colonel Hayes said to the camera. "This is what happens to species that threaten humanity. The Vorthek are extinct. Who wants to be next?" The news of Vorth's destruction spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Never before had an entire species been exterminated in a single day. Never before had such overwhelming force been used against a council member. The remaining 11 species sent desperate messages to Earth, pleading for negotiation. They offered trade agreements, technology exchanges, even tribute payments. All of their messages were sent back unopened with a single response: surrender or die. Admiral Blake read the alien pleas from her command chair aboard the Retribution. Each message was more desperate than the last. Some offered to withdraw from human space. Others promised never to threaten Earth again. A few even offered to punish those responsible for Lisa Campbell's death. "Admiral," Captain Wright asked, "some of these offers seem reasonable." "Perhaps we could, Captain," Blake interrupted. "Do you remember Ambassador Campbell's face when they executed her?" "Yes, ma'am." "Do you remember her final words about coming in peace?" "Yes, ma'am." "Then you understand why we will not negotiate. Ready the fleet for our next target." The Zephyrian home system was 3 days away at maximum speed. The insect species had been the second most vocal in demanding humanity's submission. Soon they would learn what the Vorthek had learned: that humans did not forgive and did not forget. As the Terran Armada prepared to jump to hyperspace, Admiral Blake received one final message from Earth. President Martinez appeared on the screen, her face tired but determined. "Admiral, the galaxy is watching. They want to know if we will show mercy to those who surrender." Blake's response was immediate. "Madam President, they showed no mercy to Ambassador Campbell. We will show none to them." "Understood, Admiral." "Carry on." The stars stretched into lines of light once again as humanity's war machine moved toward its next target. Behind them, Vorth burned in the darkness, a monument to what happened when anyone threatened the human species. The galaxy was learning that humans fought wars differently than everyone else. They were about to learn just how different. 18 months after the war began, the galaxy had fallen silent. Admiral Susan Blake stood in the ruins of what had once been the council chamber on Nexus Prime. Broken alien bodies lay scattered across the floor, where the greatest leaders of galactic civilization had once made their decisions. The war was over. Humanity had won. Behind her, Captain Joe Stevens supervised the cleanup operations. Joe had led the final assault on the Council's capital, smashing through their defenses like they were made of paper. His Marines now searched the wreckage for any survivors who might be hiding in the debris. "Admiral," Joe reported, "we have found the last 3 Council members alive. They are requesting to speak with you." Blake turned from the window where she had been watching human ships patrol the space around Nexus Prime. "Bring them here." The 3 surviving aliens were dragged into the chamber by human soldiers. They had been the most powerful beings in the galaxy once. Now they knelt in chains before a human woman whose species they had dismissed as primitive. The first was a crystalline being whose body had been cracked by weapons fire. The second looked like a living plant, its leaves brown and wilted. The third was one of the gas creatures, its energy field flickering weakly as it struggled to maintain its form. "So," Admiral Blake said, looking down at them, "you are all that remains of the mighty Galactic Council. 12 species reduced to 3 dying creatures." The crystal being spoke first, its voice like broken glass. "Please, we surrender. We offer complete submission to human authority. Spare what remains of our peoples." Blake laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. "Spare you, the way you spared Ambassador Campbell? The way you showed mercy when she begged for her life?" The plant creature's leaves rustled as it tried to speak. "We were wrong. Your species is clearly superior. We accept human rule over the galaxy." "Too late," Blake replied coldly. "You had your chance for mercy. You chose to execute our ambassador instead." She gestured to Captain Stevens. "Show them what we found in the archives." Joe activated a holographic display that filled the air above them. The images showed the real records of the Council's decision to kill Lisa Campbell. The aliens had planned her execution before she even arrived at Nexus Prime. The charges had been prepared in advance. The evidence had been manufactured months earlier. "You never intended to let her live," Blake said. "You murdered her to send a message to the galaxy about what happens to species that challenge your authority." The gas creature flickered desperately. "It was a mistake. We were afraid. Your species seemed dangerous." "We were dangerous," Blake agreed, "but we came in peace. You chose to make us your enemies." She walked closer to the kneeling aliens, her boots clicking on the broken floor of their former seat of power. "Do you know what your mistake was? You thought humans were like other species. You thought we would follow your rules, fight your kind of war, show mercy to those who surrendered." The crystal being's voice was barely a whisper. "What are you?" "We are the species that never forgives," Blake replied. "We are the ones who remember every slight, every insult, every drop of innocent blood spilled. And we are very, very good at killing." She turned to Joe Stevens. "Captain, are the broadcast systems ready?" "Yes, ma'am. Every surviving world in the galaxy will see this." Blake looked back at the 3 council members. "Your execution will be the final lesson the galaxy learns about humanity. Watch and understand what happens to those who threaten us." The weapon's fire was quick and efficient. The 3 aliens died as Lisa Campbell had died, alone, defenseless, and far from home. But unlike her execution, theirs served a purpose beyond cruelty. The broadcast went out to every world that still had functioning communications. Across the galaxy, the remaining survivors of the Council species watched their last leaders die. They saw the ruins of Nexus Prime, the graveyard of their civilization, and the human ships that now ruled the space between stars. Admiral Blake faced the camera directly. Her uniform was stained with alien blood, her face hard as steel. "This is Admiral Susan Blake of the Terran Empire. The Galactic Council is extinct. The species that threatened humanity have been eliminated. The war is over. She paused, letting her words sink in across light years of space. To the survivors hiding on distant worlds, know this. We are watching you. We know where you are. We remember what you did to our ambassador. If you want to live, you will serve human interests without question or complaint. Her voice grew colder. To any species that thinks of challenging human authority, remember what happened here. Remember the vortex cities that burned. Remember the Zephyrian hives that we poisoned. Remember the crystal worlds we shattered and the gas clouds we scattered to solar winds. She gestured to the ruins around her. This chamber once held the rulers of 12 proud species. Now it holds only dust and memory. They thought they were the masters of the galaxy. They learned otherwise. The transmission ended. Leaving the galaxy in stunned silence, Captain Stevens approached Admiral Blake as the camera crews packed their equipment. "Ma'am, we are receiving surrender offers from 47 different species. They are requesting terms for submission," Blake nodded. "Standard terms. Complete disarmament, tribute payments, and human oversight of all governmental functions. Any resistance will result in immediate extermination. And if they refuse, then we add 47 more species to the list of those that no longer exist." Over the following weeks, human fleets spread across the galaxy like a plague. Every world that had ever supported the Council found itself under human occupation. Alien governments were dissolved, their leaders executed or enslaved. Their children were taken to human schools to learn the new order. The few species that tried to resist were eliminated with the same ruthless efficiency that had destroyed the Council. Their worlds were bombed into rubble, their populations scattered to the void. Within a year, the galaxy learned to fear the sound of human engines and the sight of human ships. President Helen Martinez addressed Earth from the White House, standing before a map that showed the new Terran Empire. Red markers indicated worlds under human control, thousands of them, stretching from one edge of the galaxy to the other. "Citizens of Earth," she began, "our war is over. The aliens who murdered Ambassador Lisa Campbell have paid the price for their crimes. The galaxy that once threatened our extinction now bows before human authority." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "We did not seek this war. We came to the galaxy in peace, offering friendship and cooperation. They chose to answer with violence and murder. They learned that threatening humanity carries a terrible cost." Behind her, the map pulsed with new acquisitions as more worlds surrendered to human rule. The Terran Empire now spans the galaxy. Billions of alien beings serve human interests. Their resources fuel our expansion, their labor builds our ships, and their children learn to speak our languages. Her expression hardened. "Let this be a lesson that echoes across the cosmos. Humanity does not forgive. We do not forget. And we do not show mercy to those who spill innocent blood." She raised her hand in a gesture that billions of humans recognized. "From their history books, the galaxy is ours now. We have taken it with fire and steel, paid for it with courage and determination. Future generations will remember this day not as the end of the Galactic Council, but as the beginning of the age of humanity." On worlds across the galaxy, alien beings knelt before human governors and learned to speak the language of their new masters. They told their children stories about the time before the humans came, when their species had been free, but those were just stories now. The reality was human ships in their skies, human soldiers in their streets, and human law in their courts. The galaxy had executed humanity's ambassador. Humanity's response had been to execute an entire civilization. It was a lesson the universe would never forget.